Bernie Sanders on who he wants to see holding the Democratic flag come November. And in a number of cases, he's getting his way with far left candidates winning primaries over the more centrist establishment choices. With that, we welcome two Democratic activists, Ryan Skolnick on the progressive side and former Clinton staffer Amanda Littman, to discuss. Nice to see you both. Ryan, so far progressive candidates faring pretty well. Do you worry at all that this is going to be winning the battle of the primaries and losing the war come November?
I think it's the exact opposite, to be honest, because we have empirics that that's the case. If you look at Lee Carter in Virginia's 50th district winning a special election in a conservative area, if you look at Christine Pellegrino, who won a state election in New York, flipping a plus 20 Trump district, I think what 2016 shows us, the main lesson we can take, is that millennials, which are the key to the Democratic Party, don't respond to platitudes and establishment politics. They respond to genuine progressive policies, and that's what it's going to take. So I think it'll be the opposite.
Well, the opposite argument would be, Amanda, you look at Connor Lamb, who almost ran as a fairly liberal Republican, if you listen to him, disavowed Nancy Pelosi and pulled off an upset in Pennsylvania.
Well, I think what you're seeing is the candidates who are the most successful are able to authentically connect with their voters, whatever that means. So while Connor Lamb ran a campaign that made sense for where he is in Pennsylvania, you're seeing candidates like in Alabama and Oklahoma and in Colorado and Illinois run on messages that really make sense to their communities, regardless of whatever that means for the broader Democratic Party.
All right, so authenticity over perhaps policy statements. Some people would argue that was President Trump in 2016. We talked earlier with a Republican who is running for the governor's seat in Georgia, and the AP described that race as essentially an argument of who could be more pro-gun, anti-immigration, and who could like President Trump more. On the Democratic side, the Wall Street Journal called it the battle of two Stacys here, and this is how they described that race as it related to one professor there at Emory University. One group, meaning of the Democratic Party, is pushing for breakthrough candidates such as minority and non-traditional candidates, while others are risk-adverse and will say the time is not right. So, Amanda, it begs the question, is there a split in the Democratic Party, and what's the risk there?
Well, there's certainly a lot of argument over what the Democratic Party should stand for, and the risk is always that we could make the wrong choice. But I think at the end of the day, we have to trust voters to make the right decision. And both Stacys in Georgia are running strong campaigns. I'm really excited for hopefully Stacey Abrams to win on Tuesday. But regardless, Democrats are going to have a strong candidate this November, and that'll make a difference. Okay,
Ryan, to you, how much does the platform matter of these far left candidates versus what Amanda was talking about when it comes to authenticity?
Well, first, I take issue with the idea that they're far left because they're right in the mainstream of where Democratic voters are. And at the end of the day, elections are a play to your base. But getting to the point of
hold on, Ryan. Are elections really a play to your base, or are they a play to your base in the primaries and a play to the center afterwards?
That in the real world is what we call lying. And I think that as we've seen further left candidates, as you can say, win, I think that that conventional wisdom is being broken. Look, the Democratic Party has lost nearly 1,000 seats over the last decade, and conventional wisdom for Democrats has been play to the base in the primary, flip to the center in the general. When you look at the Republicans, they haven't played that game. They've been unapologetic and consistent with their conservative message, and they've been winning. So I think that the notion of the center voter is kind of a myth. You have a lot of independents, but the independents are largely partisan. It just depends on whether they tend to lean left or right. So I do think ultimately it's a play to the base, and I think that that progressive platform absolutely matters.
So, Amanda, how does this work? Democrats have been promised a blue wave. You have two very competing arguments here about who is going to be the necessary catalyst for the blue wave. You can only pick one primary candidate to run in the general. Where does the Democratic establishment go on this?
Well, I think we're not looking to the establishment anymore. You know, on this,
well, but the establishment is where the money it is. It's where
not
the donor lists
necessarily.
are.
We're seeing a record number of small dollar donors step up and give to new candidates. And we're seeing a wave of young people running for local office. That's what my group Run for Something does. That specifically, I think, will engage in voters in a real local way that will get people to show up, even if the national institutions aren't there.
Well, we certainly saw that happen in Nebraska with Kara Eastman's win. Ryan, Amanda, appreciate you both being here. Great conversation.
Thank you.
All right.